Hello folks, Scott with Dallas Paint Correction and Auto Detailing here in Dallas, Texas. Thank you so much for getting through my Menzerna review and how I enjoy that paint sealant. Now I want to talk about Menzerna's Color Lock, which is their Carnauba base protection. Now Carnauba is not going to last as long as a paint sealant. This does have organic protection. It happens to be Carnauba. Carnauba, when you put it on a car, typically has a lot more luster, warmth look than a paint sealant, although paint sealants are starting to bridge the gap quite a bit with technology, but we're not there completely just yet. But we're getting really close. I think within the next year or two, we're going to have some paint sealants that hit the market that will give us the same look and effect as a Carnauba, but give us the paint sealant longevity and durability. But I wanted to highlight this one here. This is also a liquid form. I won't use the word liquidable. It is a liquid form of a Carnauba. I like it. I'm going to apply it with a DA. I just did this video, but what I did is I prepped this panel again. I pulled all the Menzerna Power Lock off it, the griots, spray wax. It's completely virgin once again. I used my paint prep to do that and a clay bar, just a little thing I did, and now we've got virgin clear coat once again. But what I'm going to do, again, I'm going to use a black pad. This happens to be a new one. I'm not cross-contaminating. I probably have 30 of these pads. But I'm going to take this Menzerna Car Color Lock Carnauba Paste Wax, and I'm going to show you how I use this and how I get a little bit more durability and longevity, even though its boiling point is about 140 degrees, and you'll start to lose it off the panel. But Carnauba waxes, I'll tell you as a professional, I have customers that I take care of weekly or I take care of them monthly. Typically I'm going to use a paint sealant for them, or even the people I use weekly, I use a spray wax because I'm seeing the car every week. It's always getting a new layer of spray wax every time. But people I may be taking care of monthly may say to me, Scott, I'm going away for the weekend. I really want my car to pop. I appreciate using paint sealants for ultimate protection, but I got a sexy date. I want my car to really glow. I'm going to Cars and Coffee. I'm going to go to a Carnauba base wax for that type of look. So I'm going to show you how I use it, why I like Car or Menzerna, the Color Lock, the Carnauba base, and then I'm going to show you a little tip on how to get this stuff to last a little bit longer. Won't make it last forever, but it's just a little tweaking of the moment, kind of like what I did with Menzerna, because it's a paint sealant, then applying a Carnauba spray wax afterwards. So I'm going to put a couple of dots of this Color Lock on this pad. What's going on here? Oh, I grabbed a new bottle. I have like 5 or 6 of these things, and I'm not even ready here. But, well, guess what? I'm not going to... It's got the little seal in the cap, so I'm just going to do it this way. I'm going to put a couple dabs on here. You don't need a lot. I'm only going to do half the hood. That's about it right there. Probably a little too much. But anyway, I'm going to apply this and apply it just like I did the paint sealant by Menzerna. Put a couple tabs or little dots on the panel. I'm going to go over the area on speed 2, 2.5, get uniform coverage. A little of this stuff goes a long way as well. With any paint sealants, waxes, organic in nature, the thinner the layer, the better. Uniform coverage is important. You don't want to be fighting this stuff when you're trying to remove it because you apply too much. So I'm going to go in here, speed 2.5, and I'm going to spread it out. And that's it, some nice uniform coverage real quickly over the panel. Try to hit an area twice so you got uniform coverage and you spread it evenly. What I love about Power Lock, or Color Lock is a lot like Power Lock. The recommendation is about a half hour or let it come to a haze. I typically start here, go all the way around the vehicle, and when I get back to the place I started, then I will start to remove the wax. That usually takes me 15 minutes or so. It's not going to make or break your world, but if you want to wait the half hour, as Menzerna recommends, you're probably doing yourself, that's probably the wisest thing you could do. Always follow the recommendation by the manufacturer. But here I go, I've got the Color Lock on this panel. the humidity in my little shop right now is fine. It's not in direct sunlight. I can remove it now, and I'll show you how easy this stuff comes off, because somebody just asked me the other day, Scott, does color lock come off as easy as Menzerna Power Lock? And the answer is yes. One of the other reasons I love it as a professional, gives you a really nice warm, wet glow look, but it's very easy to apply, very easy to take off. I'm going to take this microfiber and simply go, folks, it's every time I use it, I always have to giggle. It is one of the easiest products. I'm literally applying very little pressure going over this panel, and this stuff is just coming right off like a dream. Absolutely easy. I'm not applying a lot of pressure. I don't have to worry about scratching the paint. If I happen to have soft Japanese paint, I don't want to mar the paint in any way. Use a nice microfiber towel. I always use a clean, brand new virgin microfiber towel when I'm doing paint correction or I'm applying paint sealant or a wax after paint correction. I don't want any issues. I want something soft that won't mar the surface. So there I go. I'm controlling the moment, really soft with wiping it off, and that stuff is gone. I know the camera's probably not picking it up, or probably looks a lot like the Menzerna demonstration, but there is more warm glow and a little bit more of a wet look to this panel. I love it, but I'm not naive to the fact that Carnauba, well, when it hits 140 degrees, will start to melt. There's no more Carnauba on the panel once the panel hits 140 degrees. People will say to me, Scott, global warming hasn't gotten that bad. Dallas doesn't even get that hot. Well, if it's 75 degrees outside and it's a blue sky, beautiful day, and the sun's kind of hot, even though it's 75, 80 degrees, the sun's rays that are hitting this panel on a 75 or 80 degree day, the paint will absorb that radiation from the sun, and I promise you the panel of the paint will be over 140 degrees. About an 80 degree day, if the car's been left out in the sun for about an hour, you'll come and touch the paint and you'll pull your hand off it because the paint is that hot. That tells us that when Carnauba gets that hot, over 140 degrees, we're starting to lose its protective ability at that point. That makes or breaks your world, folks. Then I'm just giving you the facts. You decide how it works for you in your world. Now, because I use the Carnauba, and I know that it won't last all that long, but it's going to give me more warmth, more of a wet look, more of a, maybe more shine and gloss than a typical paint sealant. If you watch my Menzerna video, I use a spray wax over it, a Carnauba-based spray wax, to kind of give the paint sealant a little bit more glow. What I have been doing for the last 4 or 5 months, and I did it with another product previously, like OptiSeal, whenever I use a Carnauba-based wax, I've been using this Meguiar's Ultimate Fast Finish. What's very interesting is Meguiar's actually recommends that you put some type of wax on the car or a paint sealant, and then you can put this over the top of it. I'm not a big firm believer in topping products. I just don't see, in my experience after 26 years working on cars weekly, seeing them every week, every month, I don't see a lot of issues with topping products really giving you the best bang for the buck, but I'm not going to offend anybody. You guys decide what works for you. I'll honor it. If you're getting good results with it, that's fine. There is one thing I want to state. I have friends that are chemists, and I'm grateful that they're in my life. They help me with so much questions I have about topping products and how polymers or synthetic formulas actually bond to one another or bond to the paint. There is a very famous type of, a lot of people like to use the Menzerna Power Sealant, and then they're putting like a wax over the top of it. Some people are complaining that after a day or two, they start to notice that the panel gets wet, or it starts to get dew-looked. You know, they'll have some dew on it and they'll have to come over it and wipe the panel. The reason for that, folks, if you really do the research, is sometimes some polymers, some synthetic formulas do not like to play well with one another. So if you're using a paint sealant and putting a wax over the top of it, even if you wait the 3 hours, whatever the company recommends, sometimes when you're using two different companies and they have different formulators, different polymers or synthetic agents within those bottles, what can happen is the polymers will actually start to repel one another. And when they repel one another on a microscopic level, when they start to repel one another, they actually generate heat. That's why some people see their panels will sweat a day later or 2 days later, and they got to come up and wipe away that layer that wants to reactivate. What's actually happening is those two layers are repelling one another. That's why I'm not a huge fan of topping products unless I know they work or the company recommends that you can top the product. Just a little side note there. I don't want to offend anybody, but giving you a little knowledge that I understand based on chemists that I talk to almost on a monthly basis, and I'm grateful they're in my life. So what I'm going to do, I've used a Carnauba. We already know this isn't going to last all that long because its boiling point is too low. It's 140 degrees. Meguiar's makes an interesting point. They actually want you to use this finishing sealant. This finishing sealant really has no carriers as well. It doesn't have any petroleum carriers. It's a finished sealant. It's not really going to give you, how do I say this? Most waxes and sealants, when they are liquid formed or paste form, they're much more self-leveling because they've got substance to them. They're a little thick. So that's what gives the panel a more flat surface, which gives our eyes the ability to see reflective light as shiny and glossy. That's the way it works. So I'm going to kind of lock in to some degree using this Meguiar's Ultimate Fast Finish. I'm having tremendous luck using Color Lock, a Carnauba Paste Wax by Menzerna, and then using this as my final inspection spray so I can lock in that Carnauba to the best of my ability, and it will look like this. And what this does, it won't take away that warm wet look that the wax is giving me. It just doesn't do it. Again, it doesn't have any fillers in it. It doesn't have any petroleum based products in it that will eat away at that Carnauba I put on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a microfiber towel, I'll flip this over so it's on a clean side, and I'll take Meguiar's Ultimate Fast Finish sealant, wax, whatever you want to call it, and I'll just spray it on this microfiber. And that's it, just a little spray. I'll come in here and apply it over the surface of the Color Lock, Menzerna Color Lock. I'll massage it into the surface very lightly. This stuff, you don't need a lot of it. A little bit of it is going to go a long way. Just massage it into the paint. I'm going to flip over to a dry side and just make sure I don't have any high spots, no streaks on the panel, and just simply, this stuff works really easy too, real nice and easy to apply and remove. There really isn't much buffing required. What I have done to some degree, again, I'm not trying to say this is going to last forever, but when I use a Carnauba based wax and I want to try to lock it in to the best of my ability, I am having great luck using Meguiar's Ultimate Fast Finish over the Jesscar, over the Menzerna Color Lock. It gives me, I have noticed, I use this on customers' cars that I see weekly, and I'm seeing them every week, or I see them monthly and I see them every 30 days. I've been kind of trying this out over the last several months, and I've seen some really nice durability and longevity for a Carnauba-based wax. That's kind of, I'm not saying it's going to make that wax last forever, but it does seem to have some type of locking in effect, and I like that, so I'll use that. And I just wanted to share that with you, how I do that. Menzerna, the Color Lock as a Carnauba base wax, and then this as his final inspection spray over the top of it to lock it in. Works wonders, really working well for me. I'm working in direct sunlight, want to share that with you guys. Again, the Color Lock by Menzerna, phenomenal product. Very little goes a long way. Easy application, easy wipe off, even in direct sunlight. Topping it off with this stuff, which is a finished sealant. It just is making tremendous wonders in my world. I wanted to share it with you. My customers are also saying, Scott, since you've been doing this to my cars for the last couple of months, excuse me, some truckers trying to drive by, they've noticed the warmth of the wet look from a Carnauba wax lasting longer on their panel. Most of my customers are very educated because I actually tell them, whether they want to hear it or not, I basically tell them the facts as I know it. So a lot of my customers are reporting to me that they're getting more longevity out of the Carnauba and getting that warm look. I'm also seeing it too because I'm seeing their cars weekly or monthly. So that's my little tip there on how I use it. I think Color Lock by Menzerna is amazing, great product. Top it off with this if that makes sense to you. If you don't mind spending a couple of extra dollars, I really think it'll work wonders for you. I wanted to share it. I love you all. Until next time, be safe.